It says I'm live. I guess that's better than being dead. Beats the alternatives. Hello, everybody. Got a few people in here. Welcome. If you want to go ahead and chat, let me know you're here. I'd appreciate it. I've got this in subscriber only mode. So if you're on here, I know you're a subscriber. So thank you very much for doing that. And you're going to learn something tonight about a benefit that's going to be for our subscribers. So that's why I'm doing this tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. Having some thunderstorms here in Dallas. So if the lights go out, it's not just my thinking cap that's gone out at that point. It's something a little more severe. I didn't turn my light on here. Need to brighten up my life or something. Debbie Boone, I don't know. You light up my life for. Let's see what happens here. It is a Labor Day, so I know that's a bad day. Everybody's with family and getting their new back to school stuff going, which is usually a lot earlier nowadays than it used to be when I was a kid, But okay, so it goes. So it goes. Oh, we got 8 people. Thank you. Hey, if you're here, you might want to just say hello, chat. Just let me know you're here. Thank you. Coming in loud and clear. That's what I like. Hey, cool part 2. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I mean, it's really the damn audio. It just really ticks me off. You do all that work and prep and you do everything, and then you have a technical glitch on your computer, and then, yeah, it's just, Murphy's Law. It seemed like you'd think the MoFi devil had gotten me or something. It was kind of like a snake bit, which Chad has plenty of experience with from Louisiana. But he was really gracious with the problems and all. So, and I did the best I could to clean it up because it sounds a lot worse raw than you're hearing it. So, but I'll work on that the next time I have an interview. I can promise you it will be pristine. So give this rookie a break on that one. But I'm glad you liked it. One of the reasons I wanted to come out and chat was, if you have any other questions from what went on or, anything else, I am taking questions to bring to him. Again, we'll probably do it remotely, but I do have, yeah. So, yeah. Well, thanks, Nick. So if you do have any questions, hit me up. If you can't think of any or whatever one does come to you, just throw a comment in on that video and I'll see it. And I've got a list. I'm adding it. And yeah, hey, Fluff and Gene. So what I want to do is let you all know that what I'm going to try to do and make work is a way to make you all aware of a link to a private video on YouTube, which you will be able to see as subscribers in advance to it being dropped for everybody else. And so I'm looking at a couple of methods to that. One of the ways is subscribers get a different video that pops up when my homepage to them. The video that comes up is different than the general public one. And so at a minimum, I will embed it into that or have it there so you can see it right away and announce it as such. But the first one I'm going to do is a walk through Chad's vinyl vault, which is kind of cool, has some really rare stuff in there, and it's a couple of minutes. He also shows me, and we talk about his office where he ABs test pressings to originals or the best pressing that he thinks is out there to compare them to. So we talk about that as well. So that's something that I will make available to you all tomorrow about this time through again, look for that link that comes up when the video starts for my homepage, and it'll be different for you subscribers. And so you'll see I'll put a web address up there for the link to that, or create a short link to it so that you can just type it out quickly, and that way I'll probably use a redirect link, so you'll just always use the same one. It's not, the most secure, and it's not secure. It's just foolproof. But I'll look at better ways to do this. But my point was, hello from Okayama, Japan. Yeah, our company has a facility in let's see, where is it? Yokohama. Yeah, Yokohama. So welcome. Uh, so you can imagine what's in that vault. Yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, ugh. One of the things with doing it, I the room is relatively small and narrow and tall. It's like a storm shelter kind of room, fireproof, all that. And so I did the I filmed it in portrait just to try to get the height, and that obviously makes it narrower. So when you look at it, it'll be obvious I didn't do a landscape, because if I did a landscape, you wouldn't, you'd see a very narrow bandwidth of what's in there. So I thought perspective wise, you can see get a better idea of what he has in there. But you know that when you walk in the door and almost trip over a Led Zeppelin box case from Classic Records, you're going to be in for a good time. Um, so anyway, I want to make that available to you. And again, like I said, if you do have any questions or any other things that you want me to ask him when we have our next go around, because I certainly have a few that have come up from other people, and a couple that I want to ask now that I've kind of settled in and thought about what I saw and what I maybe didn't ask of because I had a set of questions I came in with, so I wanted to make sure I executed those. And with the technical difficulties, we chewed up a little more time. But yeah, there's a vid from years back of the vault, but it was unfortunately very brief. I'm sure your vid is actually, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen the old one, so I can't say. It's not real long. Yeah, yeah, but the vault's not, you know, you could take probably 15, 20 steps and go around in a rectangle and be out of it. But it's high, so there's shelf after shelf after shelf of things that are in there. And but he has stuff in his office too, and he was showing me a Led Zepp 2 promo, an RL cut of it, that he had a white label promo of that. So yeah, that would be good. Yeah, and if that ever needed to be used to compare to, I guess that's a tough one, because I don't know that he wanted doing that. But he's got better or worse than Al Capone. Well, I don't know. I may have been some spots where I didn't lift up the carpet. Let me put it to you that way. But if I traveling back to Kansas to record it on YouTube? Well, I don't know that I'm going to travel back to Kansas. I certainly can. I mean, it's not like that's an impediment at all whatsoever. I He and I talked about a couple other things, and so it's not out of the question at all, because there are some things that maybe processes that I saw that we could talk a little bit more about than we had time with. He was, really respectful of getting the interviews done. So yeah, yeah, I was in. You probably heard. I can't remember who all I've said this to. I'm sorry, but I was in Sweden in June and for work, and I went into my favorite record store in a town called Orebro, which is a relatively small town, nice little town, and I bought a lot of records in this store, and I saw Led Zepp 2 in the regular records, and I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, of course, it's not, whatever." And then I was like, I remembered when I walked in, I went through the higher end stuff at first, and I think about the time I was in the L's, looking at the L's, and I thought there was a Led Zeppelin 2. The guy who works there was chatting with me, and I think I got distracted, and my brain kind of went, yeah. So I went back there and looked, and I'll be damned, it was an RL on both sides, VG plus plus, and the best part is it was $40. That was probably one of my bigger Grail finds I've ever had. So because a lot of them you can't really play them. I mean, they've been worn, and they've not been handled well. So it's hard to find one that's playable, to be honest with you. I mean, the cut's difficult to play right out of the box, let alone being worn. So, but this one sounds really great, and it. I had to reposition speaker, because it literally it caused it to jump out of the out of the groove. And yeah, 40, yeah, they're still out there. You just have to really look. I mean, this guy obviously didn't know what he had. I just wanted to grab it, pay for it, and get the hell out of there before somebody, had a light bulb go off or something. I felt like I was stealing the thing in some ways, but I'm not usually very lucky and fortunate on stuff like that. So I guess I had to take my shot on that one. So it was really worthwhile. But yeah, there's a lot of those kind of things that are out there, that you can look for, but you really gotta dig in the weeds and look, and you gotta it takes time. I mean, that's the thing. It's really, I could spend all day in a record store and look for those kind of things, but that's not always practical. uh, when I was on this trip, I was there for a couple of weeks, and I was just me, so I didn't have anything else to do. So I had more time than I had money at that point, so I went ahead and did it. But anyway, a lot of good shopping, and so I hope to be back in Europe in October. And I even mentioned Michael 45 today, because I've got to go to Essen, which is near Dusseldorf where he's at. So he and I may get together. Maybe we can do a little chat together live as well. So it's a small world. I've heard he doesn't travel, but I have reason to at times. So it's good. Many Grail records are in other countries and in perfect shape. Certain titles are abundant in Japan. Yeah, yeah. Things moved around a lot for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, yeah, who knows? And to be honest, I mean, there's probably a fair amount of those kind of things that are with people who don't even know what they have. And sometimes, if the person even knows, then they pass on or something, and then you get that kind of thing going on. And that's that's unfortunate, but that does happen. It does happen. Can't remember the movie, but there's a movie where the lady, I guess, going to get divorced or something, and she calls this guy from the record store over and he's looking at these rare records. It was John Cusack, I think, and I mean, it was High Fidelity, but he's looking at these, and he's like drooling over these, and she wants next to nothing for him. He's like, I can't do that. I just, oh my, he just was like, you know, but but yeah, I guess that's us collectors. Sometimes we say, well, if we're gone too long, maybe our records will be gone when we get home. That kind of thing. Once in a while, if I'm gone several weeks, I'll say, my records are still okay, right? She says, yeah, and I'm fine too. That kind of thing. You ask about the dog and the records. That's pretty bad. Pretty bad. So I know you're okay. You're on the phone. I mean, my records aren't on the phone, and my dog's not on the phone, so I had to ask. I mean, come on, give me a break. I guess everybody has their situations. Yeah, one thing I'll tell you too, as a subscriber, is if you do have something that you've really been looking for, if you shoot me an email at sound at Safe and Sound Texas, fully spelled out, sound at Safe and Sound Texas, with kind of specifics. Don't say, get me Billy Cobham album and crosswinds, and that's, I mean, you want a certain kind of pressing, certain country, maybe you don't care, that's fine, but I will look for you and bring something back if you agree to purchase it, because I mean, I think that's just part of being in the community. I found a really cool Steve Winwood double album yesterday, and I've got a friend that is from Kentucky that really likes Winwood, and a really well preserved album, and I picked it up for her. And so that's just some of the stuff I think we can do for each other, and so maybe somebody will put a grail in or something that they really want, and I'll have it. For example, I don't know what that happens. I've got a lot of duplicates, and I'm always looking. I've done auctions on some of the Facebook groups. Second Chance Records, the one I was on mostly. I don't know if I'm going to do Whatnot or not. No, Whatnot or not. uh, but I know that's really popular. But I do sell some of my duplicates, and they're well maintained. So yeah, shoot me an email. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think that is part of the collaboration, corroboration, friendship we can draw through this community a lot. Is that it's as exciting for me when I find something for someone else as it is for me. I mean, because that's just part of the deal, I think, and that's where the community is bigger than any one person. And for me, it's like doing this thing with Chad was really just I had a personal agenda because of the manufacturing, but I said, hey, I can ask questions that maybe other people want to hear answers to, and and then that's it. And now I want to ask some more questions that maybe people have, because I did get a few initially, and now I've got three or four already, and beyond what I had. So that's how we do it. And Chad's really been open to that. So and I am trying to get a interview with a mixing engineer, not a mastering engineer, but a person involved in the actual engineering and mixing, like, an Alan Parsons type role or something, that actually does the work to mix the multi-track channels down to two channels to create, a two-track tape that then to the goes to be made into a lacquer, or copied on the DST, depending on who you are with. But anyway, did anybody see the Speaker's Corner discussion? There was a guy that had this president of Speaker's Corner on, Kai Seaman, here in the last few days. I thought it was interesting. I've been emailing Kai the last 6 weeks or so, not about the MoFi or any of that. It was about a request for an album to be considered to be put on Speaker's Corner. And I didn't know that the guy was the president of the company. I mean, I just his signature didn't indicate anything about his role, and so I didn't know. And here it turned out that's who I could ask for an interview for the guy from 6 weeks ago if I'd really known that was it. But my point is, he was very accessible. He had a lot of great kind of in the weeds info. I think there was a clarification that came out, because a lot of the implication that was left, I think, in the interview was there were a lot of non-original tapes used, copies or working copies, or and so he went back and looked at what that was, and I don't have it up in front of me, but he said, I think he said all of his classic catalog is some original master tape, and I think he said most everything they've done with certain labels. I think it's if they have to get the tape from the U.S. through Warner or Sony, or I think that or Universal, that's when the problem comes in for them getting it to. Yeah, exactly. Guido's, that's it. And a dialogue. Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly right. So, so apparently their biggest issue is when they had to get tapes from the US to Germany. If they had tapes in Germany, then they would get those. But I still tend to doubt that those were the original master recording tape housed in Germany, unless it was a band that that's where they were from. I mean, I just somehow I'm just not. I don't know what their process is for where they decide to keep these things, but it just seemed odd to me that it was that was going to be a situation where there was a lot that was kept in Europe that were masters for these American bands. But again, stranger things have happened. But it kind of, what's interesting about it is it kind of proves the point about, even he, who's pretty on top of his game, he kind of said something, then had to go back and look and think and kind of look I mean, verify what, I think we're challenging everybody, in it, trust but verify. I think, even Chad's arrangement is really by exception. He denotes when there are exceptions to that, and so um, that to me tells me that they've just been operating a certain way, and then the norm is the norm is the norm and the norm, and then kind of something's out of the norm and it sticks up like a sore thumb, like the Alan Parsons thing did with Kai from Speaker's Corner. I mean, they've had that info about that being from digital since like 2016 on their website. So that wasn't anything new. The fact they came out with it for the Washington Post, I think, was just because they were getting inquiries, and the phone's ringing off the hook. Chad said, he gets calls all the time about older really, is it really this? And he's like, I can't, I can't be fielding all of those kind of things, but that's kind of what's happened in the industry overall. So some of my favorite pressings are German one. Yeah, I've got a Dark Side of the Moon quad from Germany, and it's fabulous. So yeah, there is I don't know if anybody's ever heard. There is a premix of Dark Side of the Moon that Parsons did. It's a little different than the actual released one. It was the first shot at it, and I got a hold of a MP3 of it through a friend who knows Alan and plays guitar with Alan on the road. It's kind of different, there's some things missing that are in the regular one, and you kind of realize how they matured the actual evolution, I guess I would say, of the record, and that's great. Ricefield Records. Yeah, I saw something earlier. Ricefield Records. Okay. Is that someone with Ricefield Records, I guess, on here at a label? But that was, like I said, it was interesting. It got into a lot of the monetary side of the thing about, how much I was no label. Okay. All right, thanks. It got into the monetary side, and it was kind of interesting. And I know he kind of caught himself one time and said, "What I sent you is confidential." You got to be careful in those. And I'm not sure where he was going with that. I guess maybe he was trying to figure out, is the higher cost justified? I guess is where he was going on it, and it takes time is an element. It's a time element for the mastering engineers. It's a time element for the people involved to make the agreements and the deals, and those don't always go quickly or smoothly. I can assure you that. That's sometimes a long drawn out process, and you know sometimes you don't take no for an answer. You get maybe a no initially, and then you try to come at it from another angle, or if it's something you really really want, then you pursue it. So I think that that's part of the deal. I know Chad, he's talking to all the top dogs, and they got to keep everybody happy. Yeah, Sterling was expensive. Yeah, per hour they were. But they've sometimes in business you have to recognize that people who are better and more efficient, although it's more per hour, they maybe take less time to do it. So you net a better product at a quicker time for the same money. And the confidence level is higher. So, you got to weigh it out and decide. There is a certain gravitas with saying it was mastered as Sterling or master disc back in the day or whatever. There is a certain, like there is a thing that says GZ Media did it in Czechoslovakia or whatever. And it's like, okay, Palace, great reputation. You know, I tell people people go looking for like the Fleetwood Mac rumors, whether it's the 33 or the 45, and I tell them if it doesn't say on that gold label Preston Palace, I wouldn't buy it because I'm not sure what's in that package, because that's a special gold sticker that they have that they use only out of their plant. So, it's buyer beware. And I think we've all been through the ringer with this, information underload, as I call it, not an overload, but an underload. We've had to dig to get to what we need. And today we were on a Rachel's Ghost, and Michael 45 said to me, he said, what else I heard you say that MoFi had one back earlier, like 2007, even earlier than the Tony Bennett thing. They said 2011. I said, yeah. And Natalie Merchant's Tiger Lily, it shows 64 DSD on their website. I said, that's what it shows. I said, but it's really the only one right now, at least that shows that's that far back. It is 2011 after that. I said, I don't know if they put it out to see how much noise there'd be, if people would, kind of go, what the heck is this? Or, just kind of a test run. And I don't know, but that was clearly something that I think none of us expected, because it was like Esposito said probably 2015, and then they came out and said no, Tony Bennett 2011, and then by looking at the data, and I've kind of been tracking it in a database. I know there's another one out there, but I kind of try to do it myself a little bit because I'm not sure how often that's updated or whatever. And I'm just sometimes a little anal that way, but trying to keep track of it. And that one popped up, and I'm like, wait a minute, where did that come from? Yeah. So, hi Rachel. Hey, good to see you in the evening. I'm on with Rachel in the morning. It was a fun morning this morning. I checked my watch's heart rate readings after the show today, and they were slightly elevated, just slightly. You have to fly shortly. Okay, I understand. Anybody that doesn't know, Rachel's Ghost is a great discussion at 8 a.m. Central, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. In the mornings, 2 to 3 hours of jokers like myself getting on there and just talking about a lot of different topics. It's just it's a great, it's great. So of the mastering chain by title, yes, by title, yes. Yeah, I'm literally going in and looking at the pages. I mean, do screen scrapes, and that's about all you can do, really. That's something I can make available to my subscribers too. I just got to find a way to make a couple of Dropbox locations available to you guys and let you know what they are. So yeah, I guess I can continue to try to do that. Now there's titles, frankly, that MoFi doesn't even have on the. They don't even like the Santana Abraxas One Step isn't even on the website. I know you can't get it anymore. And what the heck was that? Somebody called me loco. No. Is that a dono? Oh my God, that's my first dono. Wow. I used to do donuts in my car when I was driving. That was a whole different thing. And wow. I'm honored. I really just thank you very much. That'll help. I'll use that toward the gas bill for going to Kansas. Thank you. Anyway, I really appreciate it. So Rach, I was telling people I'm going to provide subscribers a link to the Vinyl Vault video I did with Chad, and I'm going to release that to you all sooner than I do to the public. So that's one of the ways I'm going to try to add some benefit for you all backing me. People say it means a lot, and it does, but I thought the contest thing, it's a little, I don't know really quite how to pull that off. I'm just getting going in this arena, but at least I know I have some videos in the can that I can make available to you sooner. I'm trying to drip the others out a bit. But that one I'll make available tomorrow evening for you all, make it available. So when you come to my site on the home page, should be like a video that runs on the home page. On that, I will put in the address for the link of where to run that from, because I'll make it private. So anybody on here has any better ways to do it or knows, hit me up. Again, my email is sound@safeandsoundtexas, fully spelled out.com. And tell me too. A couple of you have given me feedback. If I've been advised maybe I should change the name of my channel, and I get it. It's a mouthful, and I really love watching Rachel try to say it every morning. She's gotten better and better and better, and it's memorable for its difficulty, I guess, which is kind of like me, I guess. Is anybody who was on the show this morning, they know I can get a little excited or passionate, as I say. Don't mistake my passion for anger, though. I just had a point to make, I guess, and so Waxed can vouch for that. Yeah, right. Well, it's just one of those things, and it kind of just came up out of the blue. And I honestly, and again, Mike is Esposito. I buy stuff from him. I watch him. I just was making I was making a point about, I just hadn't seen him regularly make comments about the provenance of the stuff he was selling. And I just said, hey, I would have thought he of all people, I called him the king of transparency because he was the one calling for transparency in all this. That he would be, kind of leading the charge on that. And I noticed that, there were times he wasn't saying anything about those, and that was all I said. I mean, I thought it was a relatively innocent comment, but um, you know, um, waxed is a dynamo at times. Well, I guess I can be too in a different way, but it was. It was fun, in a way because it's people care, about what they're saying, and that's fine. I just really want to. I'm not a hothead, but I can get passionate about certain things. Like, it's like when people say I don't think the Beatles are that great. That's fine. I mean, that's an opinion, and I have no problem with that. But when they basically start to get into, they really had no influence or did anything, I kind of dig my heels in a little bit more, you know. Give yourself all the clear. Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah. So didn't buy the US from Esposito this time. Yeah. Yeah. And he said on his stream this weekend, which I just watched today or started to watch, he doesn't know when he's going to get any from Chad. And talking to Chad, from the video, he does. I don't, that's not his priority. Chad wants you to buy it from him. I mean, that's hello. He wants you to buy it from him. I mean, that's what he does. That's, wholesale isn't really where he wants to spend his efforts, and it's his product. It's his. I mean, he has a choice of how to do it. He's not committing anything to anybody, like he got screwed by MoFi, where they committed and then they pulled back. So he says, they doesn't know when they're going to get it, if they're going to get it. So that's right. That's not. If you want it, I wouldn't put an item with a third party, and I go ahead and buy it. And I just put an order in today for other stuff, and got my 10% off, and I'm happy as a clam. So yeah, yeah, right, exactly. Retail, yeah, retail for him is acoustic sounds. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I had to clarify that because when you think retail as a consumer, you think you know this the brick and mortar, right, retail out there. But his retail is holistically internal. So it's just that threw me a bit, but kind of blew. And when I had an issue, no questions asked, they just sent me a new one. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, and Chad says, if you got a problem, send it back. Let us know. Don't get on the internet and make a big, I mean, okay, but that, you can get a lot more, with honey than vinegar, that old saying, right? I mean, they'll do the right thing. I mean, they will do the right thing. I mean, that's if they were going to have a business philosophy or a moniker, I mean, that's who they are, doing the right thing. There's no other way to put it. So, see you, Rach. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, so he's going to do the right thing, and I mean, I don't. What else can you expect? Perfection? Well, forget that. He brought up the thing about the center holes being a little tight. He says, "Yeah, I know they are. Yeah, they are tight." And he said, "Yeah." He said, He said, "We want them to be snug because we want them to play true to center." And he said, some of these turntables, they have a certain tolerance, of course, on how big that is going to be, but it doesn't take much to ream that out really easily with a tool or a knife, or even make a tool to do that. And he said, and if it's too much and you can't do it, send it back. No problem. Just send it back. So, oh yeah, Rach got a new video out. Cool. Great. I'll pick that up when I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. So I just feel like if you want something that they own and press, and that there's yeah, I mean, there's I buy it from them to have the protection and to have the availability. I would say I don't see a reason not to. And they, over $49 or whatever is free shipping, at least in the US. So I mean, it's kind of like, hey, they make it kind of easy for you in that regard. So hey, I didn't realize how much Speaker's Corner stuff he has, and so that that was another. It was I was happy to see that. So for personal, reasons, I use a lot of different places because I like to try different options just to see how they work and how they, I bought some records on a whatnot auction, and it wasn't a great experience, and a couple of reasons. It was one of the things is when you're using it, your fingers right there toward the bottom right of your screen, and that where that little yellow button's in, you could accidentally touch that thing and bid again. You got to kind of you got to kind of steer clear a bit. The other thing was the shipping was a little bit more expensive, I think, overall. I think, if you do multiples, it starts to come down, but I think your first record is like $9. So I mean, it's got to come down to like $2 on a few to average it out, really, when you get down to it. So I don't. Is Harry? You're on there. Hi, Harry. Yeah, yeah. When he wrote about I think the holes being too tight or something, and yeah, there was a joke I was going to use on that one, but I didn't. I let it go. So I'll let you use your imagination. But uh, hey, Ron, how are you? Good to see you of all people. Hello from I don't what part of the world are you from? Canada, I assume. You sound Canadian, but I didn't know if you live up there or in northern U.S. Ron, I wasn't sure where you live, but I really enjoy your channel. Enjoy the way you present stuff. I like it a lot. Some of you guys I've watched and have been an inspiration to me. The way you do things, and everybody has their own way, and that's great that they do because it would be boring as hell if everybody did the same thing. And so that's kind of the size of that. So yeah, center hole was tight, but the label was cracked around it. That's not. I don't. Okay, the label was cracked. Okay, label. Okay, do you mean the paper around it or the actual material? Yeah, you live in Canada. You live in South Georgia. Okay, I got you. Okay, all right. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, you sounded like you had some Canadian in the voice. But so yeah, so what Dr. Adafilios Locos, what not Dr. Day, sorry. What so what are you going to do? You're going to keep it? You're going to send it back? You just say that you said maybe just the label was like feathered out a bit kind of thing on that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean yeah, those cutters that are in the presses that do that, I think that's a opportunity for improvements. I think that they don't stay as sharp, and I think that they blunt out, and I don't know how often they get changed. Um, I've seen a few reproductions or a few records that were, reproductions, and I look at them and I go, you could tell that that wasn't a clean hit. And then the problem with it is when it's not sharp, then it's really just raw pressure, pushing it through and pulling on that, and it's not really shave, so to speak. So yeah, there were some little things I observed that just from a manufacturing engineering standpoint, I could see some risk, some these are all older machines, and they've really got to be well maintained. That's the thing about it. They're not like, you know, uh, brand new CNC machineries or robotics or any of that. And so I mean, some of the old true workhorses, they will do you well, but they need the TLC. That's the thing about them. What they don't cost you in the actual hardware and the capital, they make up for in maintenance and in time to kind of monitor it. You don't have as many electronic data points telling you things that need to happen. You got to go by instinct. You got to go by viewing certain things. I mean, like what you experienced there, someone having it come off of the line and watching it before they put it on the spindle at the end. They got to be looking for that. You got to catch that obviously before QC does. So um, let's see. I'm trying to read a few of these, even though they are not perfect. That is, the record is quiet and sounds good. Peripheral ring damper so it doesn't bother. Okay. Yeah, it's a low print number. Yeah, which see these I can't remember if the video that I dropped today or the one I'm going to drop in 2 days had the thing about the serial numbers. I think it's the next one that has the thing about whether the serial numbers mean anything. But it took a year almost, and it's noisy. It's noisy. That's interesting. Why would it be noisy? Compound. Is the compound the same? Does it look the same? Well, I guess it's not a clarity, or is it a clarity? Um, the milky vinyl, or I've read that the newer one has a little different text, not texture, but it's clarity. It's one looked a little milkier than the other in terms of visually. Is that true? The 33 and the 45. Had I seen that? Heard that? I mean, raw materials obviously a big deal. Um, and so is process control of the heating of the pellets and all these other the time. There's a lot of sensitivity in that, and I there's indicate to me when you don't have, how do you match the box number with the record number? Well, I don't, there is no record number per se, so I mean there isn't. It's a matter of the flow of product and material. It's the way they're coming off the presses. So they come off the presses and go onto carts, and the carts get wheeled into packaging. So the first sets of records that are pressed are going to be in the first carts, and the first packaging opportunities there, stamp numbered wise, are going to be low. So there is a correlation kind of in the ballpark, but it's not like number one is number one, because the way they sit on the spindle, number one that came off the press goes on the bottom. So, unless they're flipping them, I don't know. I guess that would be a way to do it, but nobody indicated. But my point is, I think they're in the plus or minus 100 kind of ballpark based on the way they're flowing through there. So it's that's kind of the way it does. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, if you got a KOB 33 that's noisy and you want something done, you better do it now, because they may have, they may have a few. I don't think they're for sale, but they may have a few. Yeah, I have an engineering. I'm a manufacturing engineer by trade. I've worked in manufacturing companies all of my career, and in different roles in engineering and in IT and safety, in quality. I was in quality for quite a few years. Um, so I've run the gamut of different ways to work in a manufacturing company. I do a lot of auditing of companies. I did that even as a consultant. So looking at the way processes work, and looking at whether they meet standards or don't meet standards, or whether they have a process they follow that's uniform and that repeats. A lot of smaller companies, they go by, SOP means standard operating procedure. And I say in some companies, SOP means seat of the pants. In other words, the person who really knows it best, I always ask the people, I say, if John won the lottery tomorrow, how good would you be able to keep that process running? Because John's not coming back to work after he wins the lottery. They used to say, if he gets hit by a bus. I don't quite like that one, but if he wins the lottery, what are you going to do? So that's always to me a thing. So I have plans to go back, or even visiting MoFi. MoFi's I've sent, and I'm going to make a point of this when I wrap my video up. I've tried a few inquiries, and they're pretty locked down. I guess I get that with the legal stuff and all that. They did a Q&A with a magazine. What the heck is this? Something Sound? Can't remember. Sorry, I'm just blanking out. But the one that Michael Fremer's with now, and it was I don't know. It just seemed rather programmed, I guess I'll say. It was, it was probably a handwritten Q&A, and they answered what they didn't answer the others, and you know, that's it. Now you're talking about these. So let's talk a bit about these numbers. So you have a number 12581. Okay, well, um, they get a maximum of 1,000 off a stamper, and they monitor the quality of the result of the record through sampling, visual and listening. And if something starts not sounding like it should or looking like it should at 700, they're going to pull it. They'll go between 500 and 1,000. That's why it's pretty impossible to know, where the break came. Where you could have number 712 and have the 12th one off a new master, or I mean off a new stamper. There's no way of knowing, right? How is Texas safe and sound? Okay, that is not what it means. Okay, I said this on another, but I'm glad to answer it. So my company it's called Safe and Sound. Safe and Sound Texas LLC, and the reason is safe and sound to me are the two things I work in consulting. I work in the safety side, human behavior factors, and those kind of things from my manufacturing background, and I work in the sound piece. I work in I have some auctions. I give some advice. I started YouTube, so it's kind of like my passions, and that's what my company name is. And so that's all it is. It's not has anything to do with feeling safe and sound in Texas, or nothing. You know, yeah. Well, if your family members are in Uvalde and terrified, I can understand that. That is, it's already a tragedy, period, of course, but the fact that we know so little and what really happened and why, honestly, for of all the places in the US for something to happen where the police didn't act, Texas would have been, I would think, the last state that I would think that would happen in, but it did. I don't know why. I don't, my sympathies to anybody and everybody who's anywhere involved directly or indirectly with that, because it's a travesty, and I think I don't know what's going on with it. I don't hear anything. It's sad, but anyway, let me look here. Sorry, Evan sold out of a recent Mazda reissue, and the cars that you need mentioned way back. I think it's true that people are trying to grab up what is pure analog or cut from analog, because of its notoriety, if you know what I mean. But I mean, the Cars one doesn't sound that great to me. I mean, I did a shootout on it. I didn't care for it that much, frankly. Um, but for whatever reason, but I've got a Nautilus half speed from back when it was released, and and it sounds fabulous. So it's a comparative thing. I'm not going to say it sounds awful, but in comparison, it doesn't stand up. Um, but I'm sure that you're right. I think that is happening. Just like people are dumping some of their stuff that's DSD. We see a lot of that going on. So if you're inclined to want to buy MoFi stuff, now is probably a reasonable time, to pick up an Eagles one step for $100 or $80. I've seen them, and the Eagles first album. I'm not a Desperado fan. It sounds great, but I'm just not a big fan of the album. But the first Eagles album just blew me away. And so, I mean, DSD, no DSD, whatever. It just really did. So, okay. I listened to it, and that's what I bought it for. I didn't buy for it to, hold it up to an altar and give it the old cross there and say, "Thou art analog." Um, but would have been nice, but that's not the case. But it sounds great. So let's see. Yes, some of the upcoming titles that haven't been announced. Oh, my guess. Um, I He's in a lot of discussions, and their inquiries and for bringing a product to an audiophile label have increased. a lot of times, Chad's obviously chasing different titles and companies and things, and now some are chasing him. So, that's it. Um, yeah, I don't have On the Border. I didn't order it for some reason. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but but I, I I'm the one I'm really I like One of These Nights a lot. That one I'll get. Hotel California, I really hope is good because, to be honest with you, and I know people have said this is, but I honestly haven't really heard a Hotel California that I thought was worthy of the music. In other words, none of them sound up to what I think was recorded. I don't know why. It doesn't jump out at me. So yeah. Oh, you're fine. I Homer, yeah, you're fine asking that. Really, really no problem. I take no offense to it. None whatsoever. And I understand why you might think that that's what it means. Yeah, but it's not safe and sound in Texas. I mean, that's not the point. I put Texas on there because somebody already has the name Safe and Sound LLC. I had to find something else, and since I'm in, that's what I picked. But it's no problem to ask. I'm happy to answer it, really. And thank you for subbing, by the way. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that one. That one thing's just been floating around. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I really, to be honest with you, I don't like announce something and you got these huge delay. To me, I don't know. I just really don't. That's just not an appealing process to me. I mean, when they announced Thriller and they said November 20, whatever, 3rd or whatever it is, they said, okay, that's it. That I'm like, cool. Okay, that's not a long time. It's reasonable, and I know when it's going to happen. Okay. I was like, I hope this is they probably maybe the Jackson family or something said you have to say when it's going to be or whatever, and they already had the time slotted because when you're going to do 40,000, you better have some allocation for some pressing time. There's no doubt about that. But I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of those available. Not any problem with that. But I am anxious to hear how it sounds. I mean, that's a classic album. It was done very well in the first place. Um, you know, some of these records you kind of go, how can they beat it? And then they do. That's what happened. Hello, Thex File. Welcome. So that's the thing. Now I will tell you, where is that thing? I was playing it. So I was the first Ambrosia album. Ambrosia is kind of known for how much I feel in the ballad side with David Pace, but they had a few prog rock albums before that, and their first one, "Holding On to Yesterday," was a single from that, and their prog rock was unbelievable. And we're talking Alan Parsons engineering on that. Actually, engineered their first two at 20th Century Records. That was when Alan got into 20th Century Records with his contract for the Edgar Allan Poe first album that he came out with. So that first Ambrosia album, if you can get your hands on it, it is recorded like massively good. Doug Sachs mastering. Wow. You talk about a sleeper album. Really good. You think MoFi will survive and thrive? I think they'll continue to sell. Hackett was available 2 days and gone is a good sign for them. Van Halen will sell too. Well, I about the first week or two after, I talked to a few people at Music Direct, and they were like, they said you got to send in an email and order number if you're going to cancel anything. We can't take them over the phone anymore. I think they were getting inundated, frankly, at beginning. I'm sure that slowed down a little bit. Um, I have a few of Miles MoFi. Sound pretty good, except for Kind of Blue. Yeah, prefer. Yeah, that's pretty. I think that's the normal thought, not normal, but the average thought. What people say, I think that's true about on Miles Davis. But the Dave Brubeck on Chad's label is just that's just unbelievable. I mean, wow. You talk about that's up here, yeah, yeah. That's just That's, and I'm not a jazz fan, but the thing I like about jazz and some classical is just, listening to the music and the artistry of it. That, some of the music can get trite to me, a little repetitive, but just to listen to that, that stick hit the cymbal, and the bass, thumping of the fingers on the bass. I mean, that just, there's nothing like it. So, Harry, what are you calling the new contemporary releases are really good? Which ones are you referring to? Just curious. Yeah, I saw that pre-approval. I got one of those. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. Oh, from Chad. Yes, sorry. Okay. I wasn't sure if you we were mixed MoFi and whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I mean the Doors. Oh, wow. Yeah, the Doors. Now I'm gonna get there's a Rhino Electra one from the Doors. I got it. I'm not sure, but I think Kevin Gray may have mastered that. But I'd like to compare them. I'm getting things for comparisons purposes a little more. That's part of why I'm starting to do more shootouts, just to have more comparisons. But I've got a lot of OGs that come out on audio file, and that's always fun to compare. And I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of times that the OG handles very well from the perspective of cost and age and everything. But a lot of times the biggest difference to me is the surface noise, the quality of the vinyl. I mean, the vinyl back in the 70s was, there were issues with the gas crisis and recycled vinyl and that kind of thing. How many vinyl albums do I own? About 2,000, I think. About 1,045s, I'd say. It's in that neighborhood. Yeah, I've like I said, I've been collecting since like 63, 64, and I really never got rid of my records. I've discovered over time some of my friends that borrowed a record, never gave it back, because I'll be going looking for it, and I'm like, oh yeah, where's that spooky tooth? And there is no spooky tooth. How spooky is that? Yeah. You have a reissue of a Bernie Graham impression. Well, that's not one I have that I would compare to be honest with you. No, that's definitely not one that I would have to compare to. This one is actually, I think, out through Rhino on the Electra label, because Rhino does those Rocktobers, those reissues, and they do pretty good work for the $25 or whatever it is. I'm really surprised at some of the stuff they've done. Which titles would I like to see? Well, I can tell you that anything that comes out from Steely Dan, I will buy, and that's because I mean, I've got more copies of Can't Buy a Thrill than you can shake a stick at, because it's one of my favorite albums, and I'd love to just have different labels, different presses. I've always loved that album, Asia. I mean, so that always has been. So I'm hoping that some of the noise that's out there is accurate. It's 50th year for Can't Buy a Thrill coming out. So I hope that series comes out, and maybe getting a I was trying to read something and think at the same time. Maybe getting some clues, because the newer Steely Dan stuff came out first, because that was kind of maybe a little bit of a little bit of cheese putting out there for us. So that's one. I'd like a UHQR Toto 4, for example. I think a Captain and Me would be great. I mean, just some albums that I think are really standouts, that sound good, that I have pretty good ding pressings of, but I'd love to see it, up a notch, just up a notch more. I'm trying to get Speaker's Corner to do Carly Simon's Coming Around Again, and we're in the process of trying to confirm and determine whether there was any digital mixing done in it. Ted Jensen said it was definitely mastered from tape, but that Frank Filippetti would be the one to find out and tell him, not find out, but know, because he did it, whether he had any digital influences. He didn't think so. It was like 84, but I'm trying to really check with him because that album sold within 44,000 units of No Secrets, and everybody thinks No Secrets was her big seller. I mean, her greatest hits was her big seller, 3.5 million, but No Secrets only sold 44,500 more than Coming Around Again. So that was a good sign because that was one of the things Chad said. They didn't make enough of them. And I said, I don't know if you're right about that. So, what is my favorite place to buy? You know, I, I buy from Acoustic Sounds. I buy from InGroove. InGroove does fabulous packaging. Um, Exclusive disc I've bought from. Usually they have something. They'll say, "Oh, we found three of these, audiophile records in stock," and so I get those notices and I'll buy from them. Okay, I bought from Intervention. Um, I've bought from Music Direct, of course, from through MoFi. I bought through MoFi, not as much. Usually, I use Music Direct just because I call them on the phone and it was just easier. And I've heard some horror stories dealing with MoFi, but and then local stores I buy through. I've got local stores here in the Dallas area that I buy from and try to keep them going too. So it's a mix, but shipping is a big deal. Doing it right, that's a huge deal. And I think I bought an album off Amazon and I bought one from Amazon once and Target once, and the way they packed it, I'm like, you got to be kidding. It was terrible. Obviously, what turntable do I use? I have dual 1245 is what I use mainly. I have also things that I kind of a player turntable called a monolith, which was through Monoprice. They don't make it, obviously. I'm not sure. It's a very simple table, but the Dual is the one I listen to probably the most, Auto Changer, because I grew up with the Duals back in the 70s and 80s. Recent audiophile pressing and KDA space and time. Well, I'd say, let me grab something real quick. I'll show you this one. Hang on. I needed that. This Chris Isaac is a fabulous sounding album. I mean, fabulous. I mean, I bought it for the sound of it. I mean, in terms of more than the artist, but just, if you really want a great sounding pressing that doesn't cost an art, it's like $25, I think. I also ordered today the Superfly one that just came out. Chris Bellman mastered. It's a double album. It's like $40. I bought it through Acoustic Sounds. That one, I think Esposito actually put it on his top 100 after he heard it because he had removed a few MoFis, obviously, all analog. And the second disc, from what I've seen and heard, it's good. I mean, it's got some good stuff on it. It's not just frivolous junk. So, original pressing or anniversary reissues, boy, I'll tell you, it's a how can I put this? Let's take Pink Floyd for example. I mean, like the 30th anniversary is really probably the non-audiophile type version to get, in the sense that it wasn't really done in that genre, but it was one of the best pressings that ended up coming out. But do you want to spend $200 or whatever it is? An OG, the OGs are expensive too, and you just got to do your research. It's like that one, for example, Grunman redid it in 2016, and it's $30, $40, whatever it is. And I know they use digital, but it sounds great and it's quiet, and it's like, you can buy it, throw it on the turntable, and you don't have to, worry about it. It's gonna, so I mean, if you want to get into the collector piece, then you got to start doing, the B2 A2 crap with Dark Side of the Moon and looking for the UKs and you can go down that rabbit hole, and I've got a pro use. I've got a Toshiba EMI pro use Japanese version of it, and it's the best version I have. I got it for a decent price, and I'm done. I'm absolutely done. So, that's it. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's like like Chicago One, for example, CTA album. Okay, the MoFi is the best one out there, I think. Chicago Two, the Steve Wilson remix for $40 is the best one that's out there. You can't find them, but it's the best one. So it is very much a case by case, record by record kind of thing. And you just have to talk to people. To be honest with you, there's so many people that know so much and so much more than me. God, but my point is that really is first thing to do, Evan. Actually, in my opinion, is know what really is important to you. Which albums or which things do you really want to invest that effort into? And kind of separate the sheep from the wolves a bit. Because you can go down rabbit holes on things, and sometimes you kind of go, okay, well, I don't, that album's not really that big. So really know where you want to do that at, where you want to invest that kind of time, is what I would say. Because otherwise it can be maddening, and I think that's a hobby shouldn't be maddening. that's that's it. Yeah, case by case basis. Can't go wrong with OGs for the most part. Yeah, I think you're right if you get one that's well kept. Here's the thing I will tell you. There is a huge difference between vinyl that is visually graded and play graded, because you can see something and visually it looks great. And then you play it and you find out whatever. It could have skip, could have noise, could have whatever. And so, I always make the point, visually grading is great if I'm going to look at it all the time. It looks great, but that's not what you do with these things. So, when I go to record stores, I try to go to the ones here that have turntables where I can listen to it ahead of time, or have a policy that lets me take it back within 7 days, like half price books, for example. So, you just used is used. I mean, my mother used to always tell me, when it's like when you buy a used car, you're buying somebody else's troubles, but sometimes when you buy a record, you're buying someone else's, you know, uncared for record. And some look good, but they played them on a Magnavox hi-fi console, and the weight of the tone arm was 12 grams, and the thing was cutting grooves for 20 years, not actually playing them. So that's the thing you can't always tell by looking at it. Yeah. 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 How many times have I gotten a record home that looked great? Yeah. That used to happen when I was dating in high school too. Turn the light on and whoa. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, it is tough, guys. I know it is, but ask questions. Ask people, especially if it's something you really like. Ask, just it's no problem. I think that's good. You know, it's Kevin Gray that mastered Superfly 2. Okay. Kevin Gray. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. These names, everything starts going in. Want to make sure I miss. In Groove is free shipping, no tax over 50. Yeah, I don't know about the tax thing. I mean, in terms of if they are or aren't, but yeah, and they do a great job packaging. I mean, they are stellar. I bought a MoFi, a few MoFis in the last month. They were both, I think, they were ones that were analog, supposedly analog to lathe. The cars being one of them, and I swear that they wrapped the box, the package. They wrapped it so tight that it bent over the where the seam splits are, and the seam splits occurred because of the packaging, not because it was tight inside. It wasn't moving, and they weren't split from a record coming through it. They were like pushed and smushed, and that thinner layer there of paper gave, because it didn't look like it had any indication that a record had come through there, or anything with a smooth rounding. It was like torn apart. I used a little bit of a microscope on it. And I said, that's kind of it's not the normal thing you'd see if the record had done that. So I was not impressed with that. But again, the MoFi thing with seam splits is like always happening. Boy, Alex, I really hope you're kidding. Oh my gosh, but yeah. Yeah, there's a third lawsuit out, I've heard now. So there we go. Um, it's something's going to come of it. There's probably there's pretty much no doubt about it. But it it is to me. It's unfortunate because the truth of the matter is it didn't have to be this way. It really didn't. And yeah, people make decisions, and I don't know. I took a year of pre-law when I was in college, and I didn't become a lawyer because I said I couldn't live with myself. But uh, any of you, the lawyers, I'm sorry, but I was just thinking, it's kind of like the best lawyer wins a lot as opposed to jurisprudence. But that was my thinking at the time. But my point is, there's they've obviously, I mean, the stuff that Jim Davis came out with initially right away, and they've been in a reactive mode, and so there's plenty of evidence around emails sent from customer service saying never, ever, ever. Um, you know, um, yeah, those people might not have known, and that was in the scripting, and they said this is the email template you send, and that's it. Okay, well, maybe that's true. I don't know. I certainly hope they didn't overtly ask people to lie or expect or demand people to lie, but I don't know. All bets are off. I just don't know what to do. I just wanted to clear up a comment. I never said I didn't know if I was going to get the. Oh, okay. Yeah, somebody wrote that. Okay, or maybe what I said. You just said it's on his timetable, right? Okay. Yeah. And you said, I guess maybe timing was more the thing. You weren't sure when it would happen, correct? Mike, I just wanted to be clear that I did hear. So if I implied that you didn't know if you were going to get any, I was meaning that you didn't know when you would get what you were expecting to get, because Chad's not giving you a date or anything of that nature. So, um, but Mike, now that you're on here and I see you, what you did to help that move along. I mean, unfortunately, it was what it was, but I think a lot of us owe you a debt of gratitude in that regard, because it needed to come out. I mean, let's face it. That's those things don't work well under a bushel basket, so to speak. That light needs to be shown. So, yeah. So are you still taking pre-orders over there at the In Groove? I didn't know if you still were or not. Yep. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So Mike's still taking orders there at the In Groove. So that's great. That's great. Thanks for clearing that up. Yeah, if I, anytime, please. I'm not perfect by any means, and sometimes, can say something, and in a quick moment, and this thing's kind of been a bit of a blur in terms of the way everything goes in this community, and so what, Mike, and I'm just curious, what's your impression of Whatnot? Because I know you use it, and I think you're one of the more credible sellers on there, obviously knowing who you are and everything. But there's some, there's some, yeah, definitely on Chad's timeline. Yeah, I'd say everything's on Chad's, game plan / timeline. Yeah, you're right. But Whatnot's interesting. I mean, there's some auctions that are very, ooh, they're just kind of like two guys working out of a garage almost. You kind of get the feeling. So yeah, I really appreciate Mike being here. Yeah, and I said earlier, Mike, I don't know if you were on, but I said you guys, you're top rated when it comes to packaging and timeliness and everything. I mean, I've been nothing but 1,000% satisfied with you guys, up and down the road. Totally. Lots of rookie. I think the platform is new. Yeah. 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 I hope so. I think the thing that really is, I can't quite get my arms around or figure out is the way the shipping works. I mean, I guess it starts high and then progressively comes down. and you get charged like immediately for your first record, and then the shipping costs for that, and immediately it charges, and then the next time. So it's a little bit of a, you kind of get your feet wet and get used to the way it is. I guess if you buy enough, then the shipping becomes maybe averages out, I guess is the way it seems to me. When is the In Groove going to start pressing its own records? Now that would be something. That would be In the Groove right there. That would be. Do you play Get Into the Groove by Madonna in your shop a lot, Mike? I wondered about that. I was thinking about that today for some reason. I'm sure you don't. Just Chad is shipping free. Yes, he is. I think over $49 or something like that. Yeah, 45 is a tough decision. Yeah, we're getting into some real dollars now. Think of these poor folks in Canada and in Europe and all that. They have all the add-on price. Oh my gosh, whew, really something. Any news on Record Store Day 2023? Not that I know of. I've kind of fell out of love with Record Store Day in a way. I hate to say that, but it's just, I don't know what it is, to be honest. It just, it's had a tough time, with COVID and everything. And then the thing with people getting in there and buying stuff and taking, I mean, it just kind of has been really kind of a rough ride, I guess I'll say. It just feels like. And for me, for what I like, the music I like generally, there's not a lot, and I'm not a big person at all on live recordings. I like very few live albums, and you see a lot of stuff. Obviously, that comes out is a unique, new pressing of a live that has come out, which is great. I mean, but I just, for me personally, I just don't get that much out of it. So it's kind of worn down a bit in that regard. So I don't yet stand in line. I did it in Nashville one year when I was going to a Michael W. Smith reunion weekend, and there was a record store in the same venue where the hall was where he was holding it. So, well, my daughter was in there listening to something. I was standing in line. So, has anybody tried out a bioplastic vinyl? No. Do they go into your body or no? I don't. Bioplastic. I guess it's environmentally friendly vinyl. I guess I hadn't heard of it. Oh, another one of those. Okay, we've got a comedian in the crowd. Isn't that great? Heard overseas buyers were not buying due to high costs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Michael 45 is saying, the shops he goes into, they're not taking MoFis on trade or to sell or consignment or anything, I guess. Um, and if you don't like it, you can just burn it and sniff it. Okay, I get it. All right, okay. Edible vinyl, yeah. Well, Alice Cooper will come out with edible vinyl and put that. You know where I'm going with that. Okay, so something like that. Yeah, I think that's a factor, and I know things are down, but I think I heard Mike say, if you're still on, Mike, I think I heard you say though that some of the analog titles, they are in fact holding their own because people are kind of going, oh well, might as well get that one because I know it's analog, kind of a thing. So that's to each their own on that. Buyer just know what you're buying. That's fine. I'm not to me. It's like do what you want to do. I mean, there are people that will say to me certain pressings they think they sound awful, and I'll listen to them think they sound okay. So that's the great thing. I mean, there's no always right or wrong answer. I'll do a shoot. I've done several shootouts. I've done an Alan Parsons Eye in the Sky shootout. I did a Cyndi Lauper She's So Unusual shootout. I did Cars and Hall and Oates. rock and soul. I did those. So I've done a few. As I said, if you have any thoughts about, I'm not, like I said, I've got a few jazz albums. I'm not big into jazz. I'm more into 60s through 80s rock and, classic rock and pop and that kind of thing. So, because I was in radio back then, so that's kind of what sticks. Living in Texas, we can do shootouts. It's no problem, but that's a whole different discussion. But no, we can do one. It's if you have something specific that you think of, let me know. But I always try to tell people though, frankly, it's all about what my ears hear and whatnot. So there's times where things sound different to different people, and to me, Pistols at Dawn, David versus the Wax. Oh, yeah, part of me is really glad that's not up on the internet, and part of me says I really would have liked to watch that again. But so I guess my cynical side, but it was. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. We, it. This is always, vinyl can be an emotional thing, no doubt. But anyway, I was going to mention that Chad is, as I said to you subscribers, just to repeat, anybody might came on. I'm going to be putting on the home video for subscribers. It shows a different video on that. I'll be showing a link to where you can go to see the Vinyl Vault video ahead of time, starting tomorrow evening. And I'll put that up so that it'll be up before any non-subscribers can see it. I'll put that up for them later in the week and make it public so you can at least see it ahead of time. Just a little thank you for subscribing, and it's just a small gesture, but I thought I've got it, and I thought that's a good way to kind of give you a little window into Chad's world. Now that I've been there, obviously, and now that I kind of know the lay of the land, it's a little easier now to ask certain questions and find certain paths. And somebody asked me something about a studio. Did I go to? I'm sorry. I just remembered I saw that way up here. Something about. Did I go to his? I went to the Blue Heaven Studios in the church. I did do that, and I have some video, and I sat at Doug Sax's analog console with a cutter right next to me. It was wonderful. Just to think what has been cut there, on that equipment. What is my favorite place to buy? Okay, I already answered that one. I've never bought from Rhino though. I mean, somebody mentioned Rhino, and I haven't bought from them directly. I really wanted to answer that one because it was one that I had in my head, and I said, yeah, that's a good, but I wasn't sure what they meant about, his sound room. I didn't know what you meant. I was in his sound room. Yes. Where he has it's called an Air Force One turntable. It's like a $30,000 turntable. Yeah. I saw some of that. I saw a lot of old equipment, man, historic, RCA through the decades kind of stuff. And, just all kinds of odd turntables. He has a lot of cool nostalgic history and equipment. Do I think that he will need to use a digital step in some music? Well, he has chosen to release things that have had a digital step in it in the past. Very minimal, but there are a few. If you saw the video yesterday, the original first video that came out with he talked to some of those, and I showed you the screens on those. So it's on a case by case basis. Chad isn't going to release material that isn't to his liking. I think that's the easiest way to put it. That it's just not he that's not who he is. It's not what he wants to do. As he says in the video that'll be coming out next, let others do that. They can do that. He even said, if somebody wants to start up a company, and I'll give them the recipe, I'll tell them how you make this stuff. It's fine, no problem. but I'm just, I'm going to decide what I sell and what I process through Analog Productions. So it isn't really about the non-digital digital. He's Analog Production. That's where he's going. That's where he always wants to go. But if he has something that really is burning desire to put out, like the Beach Boys in stereo that had a digital step in the mix, not the mastering, in the mix, then they make a decision based on how good it is and whether it's worthy of putting out, and then they let people know that. So if something he really likes happens to have it in it and he wants to put it out and he thinks there's a market for it, he'll do it, and he'll tell you that's what he's doing. So is 150 the new norm? Well, it certainly is a 2 LP baseline norm, I guess, at this point. I do think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't think there was any, I think he felt like, yeah, it's 2 LP. So that was a price point decision. And they've got the history, I guess, to back it up, and hopefully the quality is there. Yeah, right, exactly. 125 for single disc. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, let the buyer decide. That's it. And I mean, there's a part of it he said, if you want to buy it, fine. If you don't want to buy it, fine. He said if it offended somebody that we put that, Beach Boys up there and had a digital in the mix, well, we didn't control, whether that was in the step or not, and we mastered it purely analog from a tape. But how it got to the tape, and that's the thing. There's a chain, mastering chain comes from the 2-track onward to get it into vinyl, but there's the production chain up front, the production work, the mixing and all that comes into how does it get onto the 2-track tape or whatever media it is that gets to be mastered. That's or is the first opportunity to be mastered, I guess I'll say. So he's looking at, he didn't just take the analog tape that he got and he said, okay, here's your analog tape. And he says, no, I want to know everything. And in knowing everything, he found out, yeah, that they did have a digital mix. So that's where he went. So, yeah, Matt, yeah, that's kind of, Chad, nothing's getting out of that place until he, really feels it's worthy to get out of there. you know when you're in a place like that, you hear certain things people are saying, like, we got to do another set of test pressings for that one, or something like that. It's kind of like, and you just know deep down, it's like, okay, that, Chad's, he's not happy yet. And only his ears are going to tell him what makes him happy. That's the thing about it. Did Chad mention? No, he did not. And no, I did not ask, but I can add that to my list right here. I have. That's the easiest thing to do. Yeah. Bill Evans box set. There's a huge box set out now that they're selling at like $700 or $900. It is somebody else on him. I'm not up on that product, but yeah, I mean, Chad has a lot of customers that he's had for a long, long, long time, and he has a lot of customers that are obviously can afford what he sells, and both in equipment and in in the product, the material that gets played. So there is, everybody has a customer base, and Chad knows his customers. That's one thing I will say. I think I said in my video, I haven't been in a place where I heard the emphasis on customer. I say customer satisfaction. That sounds trite. Customer delight is the word I use. It's customer delight. That's really what they're striving for is customer delight, and that is. I heard it in a variety of ways from a variety of people in different roles. So it is ethos. It's part of who they are, and it's part of what Chad I think has instilled it through example. And I think that's part of the reason why occasionally there are people that'll I say snipe or they'll call and they're like they bought one record maybe and then they're just people can have unrealistic expectations and they can judge you in a way. They can get on the internet and do whatever, and some of those things are for people that have pride in their work, it does kind of it can get under your skin. It can get under your skin as a person, even when you're just on the internet. But he has a lot of pride in what he does, so that's he doesn't have time for that, I think. So hey, thanks very much, Evan. I appreciate it. My wife is literally out of the country, and so it's a really good time for me to be able to do this, and I'm getting a lot more enjoyment out of this than I would be watching sports. So for me, it's fine. I'm just glad that there's 36 people willing to listen to me for a few minutes. Oh, God, an hour and 30. Oh, my gosh. This is what happens. The other day I said I'll stream for 15 or 20 minutes. I streamed for 45, and I had to leave at that point. Otherwise, I probably would have still kept going. I guess people start dropping off. You start getting the hint. But yeah, I was really reticent to try the live thing, because it's kind of like you're talking to yourself when you sitting there looking at it going, God, I got to look at that for an hour and a half. But thank you, John. I appreciate it. I really just, for me, I really want to just be, genuine. I like to be, I'm like an everyman's audio person. Somebody asked for you an audiophile. I said, what's your definition of audiophile? I mean, that could go a lot of different ways. I enjoy music. I enjoy audio equipment. I enjoy vinyl. I've started to get back into some multi-channels, SACDs. I have a big quad collection, LP quad collection right behind me, and the one right behind the cube right behind me. And I have the equipment to do it. And so I got hold of a nice Oppo BDP 83 player. They're out of business now, but they made great stuff. And I got it from a friend of mine, a guy I met, just an amazing guy, 70 years old, has a lot of equipment. He said, I don't know what to do with this thing. And I said, I'll buy it. My Oppo didn't do as much as this one does. So I've been buying some multi-channels, and I'm just enjoying the hell out of, hearing more, just an expanded, role. I got Queen's A Night at the Opera yesterday, and man, some of the Brian May stuff, it's just kind of pulled out and separated, and you just don't hear it all that way. And it's really great. And I'm not here to, the thing about it is it's not going, oh, I think that sounds better than vinyl, or that doesn't sound better in vinyl. It's more this technology that I can hear it in a more separate way. That's what I'm listening to. Any word on 45 RPM amused to death? Do you mean a UHQR, or what do you mean? Just to clarify, Charlie. I have one. I have a 2x45 from them. Are they supposed to come out with a UHQR of it? If so, I hadn't heard that myself. That doesn't mean anything that I hadn't heard it, but I just wanted to understand. Do you mean represses, or do you mean a new product? Yeah, that Doors LA Woman. That's why I said earlier I want to get. There's a Rhino repress of that, and they've been doing a really good job. They usually get some nice mastering engineers involved, so I'd like to get one of those just to do a little bit of a shootout on it. Not a UHQR. Okay, so a repress. Well, I can tell you this: Chad is the business is trying to move and get a third shift going for the pressing plant. So based on demand, so they are trying to expand capabilities and throughput and increase volumes. So, and at the end of the day, a lot of these things are, in fact, making tough decisions about what to, when they're going to make 25,000 kind of blues 45 RPM 2 disc, that's going to consume some pressing time, right? So they're going to have more windows of opportunity, I would say to you. Now, And that's a great. I'm gonna do this real quick, guys. I'm gonna write this question out because it's kind of at the nub of it. How do you decide how to prioritize represses? And I'm even going to put uh, underwaters. For example, okay. I'll ask that question. Um, he's had it for pre-order for year. Well, that's funny. Well, I mean, hmm, I could swear I have that one, but is it? It's pre-order maybe. Yeah, for repress. Well, repress would be the same thing because they don't say repress like MoFi does. They don't put it that way. So, but yeah, hope you guys have, if you were buying anything, could take advantage of that 10% discount by putting 10% in uppercase in the coupon code to get a little bit of relief. A little bit helps, I guess. Every little bit helps. Channel put out the complete Dord session. LA woman. Oxet out of breath. Wow. Nah. Wow. Not a repress, you're saying. Okay. Well, then I got to look. What do I have then? I mean, am I lost my marbles again? Yeah, Roger Waters and Music, Bath 2 LP, Analog Productions, 200 gram. I bought it over a year ago, and I 18 months ago, and I bought it from the In Groove for $55. So that's why I say a repress, only because if they already had released it, then they used up the stock. I mean, they made X amount, and they haven't repressed it. So that's just repressed it. So answering that, yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I would take that to mean that it's one that they pressed and they sold, and now they have to take another. They've got the plates for it, and they've just got to repress it again based on. I don't know if they have limits of how many they can sell, or that's another piece of a question that I've got to delve into a bit. I think, but I know it exists because I have one. That's the only thing I can tell you for sure. And it's been a while that I've had it, like I said. So, and again, good recommendations people recommend. There's a best of female artist vocalists and a best of male artist vocalist that Chad has on his label that are fabulous. They are like best ofs from different artists from the collections, and they are just really a good montage of high quality recordings of male and female vocalists. If you see that there, it's really worth it. Yeah. Okay. The link that. Okay. Thanks, Nicole. I if you send me that, that's great. I may have not paid attention to it only because I have something. I don't know if I have it, but it says it's 200 gram. What at least Discog says. So you see that link come in, and then we can take a look at it. That would be fine. I would be fine with that. Where's everybody from? If you type where you're from, even just generally country or whatever you want to say, I just always curious, right? Chad could have done the Beach Boys Christmas album. Yeah. Yeah. Ecuador. I think I've seen, yeah. We have a mining we do some mining in our company in Ecuador actually. Alabama. Okay. Roll Tide. A 4 LP set. Okay, there you go. I'm sorry. I have the 2 LP set. Yeah. Puerto Rico. Nicole's in Berkeley. Hello, Berkeley. Just moved to San Antonio. I'll be there this weekend. You going to the record show, John? There's a record show in north of San Antonio, Spokane, Atlanta, DFW as well. Hey, G. Yeah, John. There's a vinyl show there just north of San Antonio. My daughter lives out toward Ellington Air Force Base out west on 90. So I'll be there for 3 days. Philippines. I do work with our location in Philippines. So I have to work all sorts of hours in the projects I'm on. So being up late is no big deal to me. You didn't know? You'll check it out. Yeah, go on Facebook and say like San Antonio Record Show or something, and you'll find it. Yeah, let me know. Maybe we can meet. Say hello. Be great. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. Little thing, you ask where you're from, somebody says it, and boom, you got some connection. That's what this is all. New Zealand. Oh, there we go. There we go. Fairbanks, Alaska. Hello, Fairbanks. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, no, I'm really glad to have stuck around long enough to get that out to say that. Yeah, and then there's one in Houston in a few weeks. We just have one in Dallas, and then Austin. Austin's got one in September. It's the biggest, one of the biggest in the country in Austin. So Indiana South. Okay, what part? I grew up in Indiana North. My wife grew up in Sullivan, Indiana, just south of Terre Haute. So we're Hoosiers, like Who's Your Daddy? That kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Gary, where Jacksons are from, Jackson 5. Used to live in Lafayette. My wife has 2 or 3 sisters that live in Lafayette. So there you go. Small world, as they say. Small world. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. It's always interesting to see where people are from and what their preferences are. I grew up, little tidbit. The label that first had the had the Beatles catalog, not the BJ's. Beatles catalog was VJ, the VJ label, and they were founded by an African American couple out of Gary, Indiana. And they their offices were in Chicago, and they had gotten the Beatles catalog in I think June of '63 and put out that first album and a few subsequent ones, and it was picked up a little here and there, and they sold okay. And then the Beatles got hot, of course, and then in like May of '64, EMI Capital, they sued them, cease and desist, and they put them out of business, although they had a contract and everything like that. They took preeminence over it, and it's an interesting story, the VJ records label and the Beatles situation. You should look it up. But I've got an original VJ of the Beatles from there, because they were selling the dime stores there. I mean, in a rack, It's like, oh, that's funny. 4 little guys that look like they need a haircut. I think I'll buy that. I don't know what you're doing, but sometimes that happens. You buy something and you don't know. But so that was a kind of a crazy story out of. And then then they had in '68, I think, early '69, they had a concert behind the Sears Roebuck, had a big parking lot behind it on 8th and Broadway, and they had a stage set up, and they also had the Car from Goldfinger there. And so everybody's going to see this Car from Goldfinger, and they had a band playing, this little band called the Jackson 5. And Michael was little, and it was before the Diana Ross thing and all that, and I was like, okay, they sound like African American kids with a younger kid with a really high voice. Okay. And, but of course, then the rest, as they say, is history. So it's always, everybody, a lot of times I think cross paths with different situations like that. It's just kind of where I was and what happened at the time. So I have a lot of, a lot of roots, I guess, in that. And then I was in radio in Chicago in the '70s, mid to latter '70s in Chicago. at an oldie station, and that was fun. I did some in college as well, but radio was great, but boy, it's no way to make a living. I mean, that's for sure. You're on the river right across from Louisville. Okay, very good. Very good. Very nice. Okay. It's not like I'm going to come stalk you or anything. Okay. You don't have to be that specific. Okay. Oh, I had a funny, I was at a record store in the area the other day. I think it was Saturday. Yeah. And somebody walked up to me and said, "Are you the guy on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Are you a stalker?" "No." Okay. So that was my first, like, what the heck's going on moment. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Gonna have to really have to increase those sunglasses or something, I think. Toronto sends a shout out. Hey, well, very nice. Yeah, Toronto's quite a cosmopolitan city, and nothing beats driving on the 401, right? Suicide watch, suicide watch. I'm going on the 401. Boy, I don't know. Every time I've been on that, I'm like, whoever runs the highways here must have brother-in-laws who own front end alignment shops because they were just brutal on the front end of cars. That's all I remember. So it's funny how you have certain things that just stick with you about a place you've been to and visited. But yeah, Toronto's a up and it's a really moving city. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The 400 is worse. Oh boy. Yeah. Then that's got to be god awful bad if it's worse than the 401. Wow. At least you guys are consistent. I'll give you that. But in all fairness, I'm was born in Canada, so I'm 100% French Canadian, but I was adopted into the U.S. So I got one foot in Canada, kind of too. But I've been there for business, but I haven't. I didn't live there for very long. So CA, okay, I'm okay. Hoping you meant Canada. All right, good enough. Any other topics you guys would like to talk about or chat about, or questions you have? So we'll wind this down a bit here before I hit the 2 hour mark. But anything, I mean, anything at all. I mean, there's certain kind of music I know nothing about. So if you ask, I'll have to tell you that. But equipment wise or Chad wise or Bud wiser, I don't know if you've looked at any of my videos from before, all the MoFi thing, whatever, but I do have some shout outs. I have a artist profile on Karen Carpenter, and the only reason I bring it up is because some of the audio in there is extracted vocals of just her voice, and you can really, especially on headphones, really hear her voice just so clearly and the dynamics of it. I mean, her voice has always been one that just to me was amazing. She was probably, from what I understand, she probably is the queen of one takes with vocals, where they would just do one take with her vocal and be done. So yeah. How many Chad videos are left in your visit? That's a great question. Um, Beyond the vinyl vault, there's at least two, possibly three. It kind of depends how I edit one of them, to get them to flow together. So, and my goal is to have them out by the end of this weekend. That's kind of where I'm headed because I got some other things I obviously want to do. But I don't know. What kind of things do you all like to see or hear or have as topics? Artists or shootouts or industry stuff, or what kind of catches your eye? That's something you go, yeah, I'll click on that. That's interesting. Yeah. uh yeah. Yeah, they definitely have some. Let me put it to you this way, and this is just a perspective I have. So we sit here today and we look back at uh QRP Analog Productions. We say, oh, these these releases they had, they were really good. They really were foundational, and they really were a step up, and they really, they really, kind of made the name, or made the point what you can do with an audiophile record kind of thing. 6 months to a year from now, we're going to be saying that about a different group of products, a different set of releases. So I feel confident about that. So that's what I would say. Um, I think Chad trying to go where other people haven't gone before, so to speak. I don't know any other way to put it. He's trying to be. In other words, I think, how do I put it? Chad's put out a lot of things that had put out before, and he has a lot of meat and potato stuff, and he does what he likes, and the stuff that's coming is what he likes. But he's up in his game. I mean, he's up in his game in get the deal and getting certain gets, to have certain things that he's going to be able to say, I did this, I got this, I was the one who really brought this to the public, to because it's been in demand. And so I think that's Chad be perfectly happy to keep just doing jazz and doing what I mean, he does that, but he wants to he has so much more he wants to do. That's why things like, why aren't you doing the new stuff coming out, and that he don't like it. I mean, he's not, why. I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, even if it made money, I don't think he would. I mean, I think he did the Farrell thing, and he's like, it wasn't that big of an improvement. It wasn't in his ears and mind that great. Customers wanted it, but he wanted to let them know, hey, this is not, the big leap that you can't get a big leap. You can't polish a turd, I think, as he said, actually. So, that's about where it comes. So I think he's looking for the stuff that really has auditory strength and market absence. Maybe I'll leave it like that. Important mixing and mastering. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mixing. Yeah. I'm working on that, because that's a big piece to me. And it's only because the mastering end has gotten such a huge focus, and that's great. It's really important. It's been a kabuki art a little bit, and so, but I do think we need to open the kimono on the front end as well. I really do. Um, Upcoming AP releases are always interesting. Yeah, well, don't think I wouldn't want to get an exclusive with Chad to announce something. Chad, if you're watching, or if you're, I don't know if you're subscribed or not, but if you're watching it, I'm always there for you, buddy. But do I agree the vinyl collection is pricing out of the average person? It is. It's getting more difficult on all fronts: price, quality, seller integrity. It's getting on all so let me I have to say this only because it's true. There's no other way to put it. There's a group I've been involved with for several years now called Second Chance Records. It's on Facebook, and the guy that runs it, his name's Armando, and he really does this out of the love of having other people enjoy the vinyl, and he gives a lot of what he makes, he donates it to really great causes, battered women's shelters and things like that. And you will get some great deals from him. I mean, he was selling some MOV titles that go for $44 for like $28 last night. So he does he does yeoman's work, and he's trying to get some bigger inventory to move even more. And my thing is this: he's a conservative grader, and anybody on that channel is a conservative grader, and do a great packing job. So you just got to go somewhere you trust. I think that's really the thing. You can get deals. Deals are still there to be made, but you got to seek them out. And so that's all I could tell you. When I tell somebody I'm selling something out of my personal collection, they know, that means it was well cared for. Now, that may mean some of the spines aren't great because back in the day, I didn't really have the greatest storage method for those, and they were, getting pushed in and out a lot. But my point is, the vinyl is going to be fabulous. And so my point is, you got to hit the right stride and the right people to do it. It's so difficult to do it just ad hoc. That's really difficult, but I do believe it. Yeah, flippers. That's the thing. They are, and I feel bad. And I tell people, if you're looking for something, let me know. Send me an email, sound@safeandsoundtexas.com. If you're looking for something, let me know. I keep a list with me. I'll put it on my want list in Discogs. And when I go places, I look. So if I find something, I'll usually buy it. And if you don't want it, I'll just sell it. I mean, it's okay. I just really feel like, you can have more eyes and ears than just me or you, out there. And I just really believe that's the best way to do it. So Chad's comments about caring about investors flipper. No, well, yeah, I mean, he's like, what do you, I mean, that's, you know, that's a fool's errand you know, to worry about that. I think in the sense that, he can't control it. I mean, there's ways around limits and other things that happen all the time. And as he said, he was a flipper once himself because he worked out of his house and he, sold records to make enough money to eat. He bought when it was vinyl was on the way out and nobody wanted it. And he found people who still wanted it. And he knew that market was always there. That's the thing he knew. What are some of the records I am looking for? Man, that's a great question. I was just looking at my list the other day and I realized I had some things in my want list that I already have. I need to take that marker off of there. But 40th anniversary box set of Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. Another box set, The Complete Audio Guide to Alan Parsons Project. Chad had that one in his vinyl vault, damn it. Those I have. Meet the Beatles. Oh, not the Meet. I'm sorry. The Beatles Mono Collection. There's a blue box and there's a red box. I have the blue box. Would like the red box. The DBX version of Teaser and the Firecat. You say DBX, what's that? I bet you I may be the only one here who knows what DBX is. Anyway, DBX was a compression expansion technology. And so what they did is they cut the record in compressed mode. And then when you played it through a regular record player and didn't have a DBX way to decode it, it would sound like crap. It sounded really high pitched and it was, didn't, but you played it through a DBX and it had way more punch, way more dynamic bandwidth because they gave it to you after the fact because it wasn't pressed into the record because it, the thing about bass and cutting and all that. So it was cut very cleanly, but you got it back through that. And they're just like, I've got a Heart, Dreambone Annie in that format, but I'd love to get T for the Tillman and Teaser and the Firecat in with the DBX built in. Same way with Feel So Good by Chuck Mangione. Analog Productions Cosmos Factory. Quad version of Creedence Gold. Weird stuff, I know, right? Okay. Oh, I got that one. Okay, I don't need to have it. Quadio Blu-ray of the Doobie Brothers. Quadio is a 4-channel Blu-rays. So I have basically that's a lot of these I got to get off this list. I have them, which is good. Just trying to think if there's anything else on here that just. There's a few Michael W. Smith albums that are out that I think were only released in not Germany, but Japan that I would love to get that weren't released here. Neil Diamond's Greatest Hits in DBX. That's a great one. I don't know what happened to that one. I hate that it's gone. Same way with the DBX of Frampton Comes Alive. See, it's a lot of them are those DBXs because They just sound fabulous. I can't believe, I have at least 10 copies of Can't Buy a Thrill, and I've got 5 more on my want list. That's a real drug for me, I think. I don't know. Okay, here's a weird one. Steve Perry album, For the Love of Strange Medicine. It was released in Brazil and the UK only. Steve Perry, For the Love of Strange Medicine. So if anybody in a foreign country sees that one, let me know. Now you may look at it and say, "Wow, that's expensive." Okay, yeah, probably is, but that's one that is very, very hard to find. Let's see. I have a couple of MoFis on my want list. Which MoFis are on your want list, John? I have some duplicates. That's why I ask. Oh, you said. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Audiophile Man said not happy to hear Chad's comments about not caring. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I maybe misread that. I apologize. Well, um, it's kind of an our entrepreneurial, I guess, approach. It's one of those things you can see either way, but I think he reflects on his own situation a lot. I think in that. So, um, yeah, I mean that's true. Linda Ron said, "Don't cry now." No, I don't have that one. Sorry. Um, Boy, did that one sell on one of Mike's whatnots? I can't remember. There was a Linda Ronstadt. I just can't remember which one it was. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's that topic. I can, I can broach the topic again. Why he doesn't have limits or whatever. I guess. Oh, Burt Bacharach. I saw that one not that long ago locally. I'll look that one up, John, because I saw that one not that long ago locally. Let me make a quick note of that one. Let me put your name in there too. Paste it down. So yeah. I think that one I have a visual in my mind of for some reason. So those are. Let's see. If you were to show you another place, of course, to look at, as well. After watching Wolfgang on the Taylor Hawkins tribute, I kind of want to get the Van Halen one steps. Oh, okay. Hmm. Now, was he in the band during? I mean, age wise, I guess he couldn't have been, right? I mean, um, because everything they're coming out with is all the early, first stuff that they did. I guess the David Lee Roth age, whatever you want to call it. Okay, cool, John. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate that. No problem. Um, David Lee Roth, Beck Sea Change. They did a MoFi on that. Really? That one I did. That one slipped by me. I didn't. I didn't. I don't recall that one. I wonder what year that was. Was that a? That wasn't a Anadisc. I don't think that was Anadisc, was it? 200-gram ones. It kind of had different incarnations. I guess I'll call it for lack of a better term. Other releases of that album. I didn't see that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's his son. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, but obviously, we didn't play with the band during those. You just mean because of his style and because of his playing. And, yeah. Well, they were hot in their day. That's for sure. But I will say, for me, that was a surprising MoFi release in a way. I don't know. I don't. I I just think that there are some titles, the way they're produced and engineered, that really don't lend themselves well to be an audiophile record. That just me. They just don't have it. And good night, Nicole. Thank you very much for spending time here. Um, oh, really? He played hot. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure he's got the chops. I don't have any doubt about that. But I just think there are certain albums that it's hard to. are you going to get the nuance out of it? The way they're, yeah, we're going back to the way they're mixed and the way, the mastering engineer has some control, but, at the same time, he has very limited control because the mix is already established and the levels are already set in certain ways. And the balance between them, the ability to draw out is, it takes some, they don't quite have the flexibility as a remix engineer does, obviously. So, I'm sure they can improve it. But again, I always say, is that album, I say, worthy of that, or can you really get enough out of it to do that? And so, but that's a challenge too. Let's see how they do with that. I mean, it's not like they're not going to have a lot of people focusing on them. My gosh, everything they come out with now is going to be under a major microscope. There's no doubt about that. So I think it's the MoFi thing. Eddie was smiling. Yeah, I bet he was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of these guys die way too young, man. I just when Petty died, I was like, what? I just had missed a chance to see him. I was just so like, yeah. It's one person I hadn't seen. I've seen a lot of groups, and I don't usually want to go see them when they're close to the wheelchair or whatever. But some do really great, I know, but I just have kind of a memory and I want to keep the memory that way. But like I saw ELO like 3 or 4 years ago, and Jeff Lynne was just fabulous, just fabulous. Talk about a guy that is underrated and unsung, and gee, amazing, amazing guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The only way to know is to revisit. Yeah, you're right. That's where you got to start, and what you can do with it is depending on equipment, skill, and it's an art. It's finesse. There's a lot of art, and these guys that do this, they there's some guys, frankly, that they're mastering people. Like I think his name's is it Joe Regano, but he does not for Friday Music, and they're just awful. When he's with somebody else that works with him, like another member of the band, like I think Chicago 17 was done with him and Lee Longhagen, probably okay. But my gosh, on his own, I've heard he's a musician or something. He's not really he's not really a, and it's like, oh my gosh, some of those are just, they're 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 worse than a bad OG or a bad repress from a re-release back from the day. So yeah, one thing we went through a lot in the '70s was junk vinyl. Because they were recycling the crap out of it, which was one of the reasons RCA came out with the Dynaflex, which was like 120 gram, because it was pure vinyl, and so they were trying to save the vinyl back then and not use as much and be judicious with pure vinyl because of the gas crisis and everything like that. And man, CBS was the worst. Boy, you could take a toothpick and pull a label that was pressed into the record. You could see the paper it was horrid. Yeah, it was really bad. Can I recommend any ELO pressings? Well, there was a Sony Legacy series they did on clear vinyl that was really, really good. I think Eldorado's done very well by MoFi on the super vinyl. I think that one's done really well. The UK's of Out of the Blue are really, really good. Just trying to think. Japanese Discovery is very good, which, Japanese, typically the bass isn't quite as deep, and that album doesn't quite demand it as much, but it's a pretty clean, and it's a cheap get, relatively cheap get. And the US is fine too, but it's not quite as quiet. It's one thing people don't talk much about is how quiet the vinyl can be. And I mean, obviously when the music's playing, it doesn't matter as much when you get quiet passages or, in between tracks, then it becomes a bit annoying, of course. So plenty of demo records. The music is boring. Companies like VMP may take range eventually. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Drug users, smokers typically don't live long. So sad to see. Yeah, well, yeah, fame will get you. There's no doubt. Takes a pretty centered person to make it through all that. There's no doubt. Yeah, it's power and money is quite a drug too, right? Uh-huh. Okay, great. Out of the blue, that's what you're looking. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's the UK is good on that one for sure. Yeah, yeah. Germany or UK, I'd say on those two. Yeah, for out of the blue, those are probably your best bets on those two. But you talk about albums, thematic type albums and whatever, and Out of the Blues a really good thematic album, and just I don't know, he doesn't get his, the guy could have pulled 4 to 5 singles off of every album easily and had them in the top 10. I don't know why more. They did quite a few, of course, but they add more to it. I don't know. During my AS tour, did I get any clues on what AP Big House? um, I can't say that I did on the tour. I mean, I there were test pressings, but that doesn't tell you much. There were some things, I think in the general um, areas, I think where they were maybe pressing something that's coming, and they were kind of more isolated a group. I think that may have been, and I didn't go near them for fear of why I shouldn't go near them, and so um, I can't say that I know anything that would be specific, and I wouldn't say it, frankly, even if I did, because the it is a business. It is a problem with when they have all these agreements, and people get nervous at high levels when things don't go the way they expect them to or plan. There's a whole choreography to announcing, and who announces and when it announces and how I mean, it's a whole dance, and you can step on some toes of some people in pretty high places if you get out of sequence. And suffice it to say that, if you're going to do something relatively big, there's going to be a lot more players involved in getting that done. So, Chad is very engaged with that side of the business, the deal, and, getting information documented on the covers he was talking about. He mentioned, I know that's part of the conversation, and getting, it's unfortunate. I really think the vinyl community, the manufacturers, they ought to get together and try to come up with something that is agreeable as a standard. I just think everybody having a different sticker and approach is just a little bit unwieldy. And it would be nice if we could compare apples to apples then. And on the front end, same way. I'd like to know how it was recorded and mixed, and then how it got to the final product that got to the mastering engineer, whether it was on tape or digital files or whatever, or both. Um, you know, so I think both sides could be more transparent on that, but rarely do you see very much detail. I bought an Ian Anderson record, who is lead of Jethro Tull. It wasn't Jethro Tull, it was him. And on the back, it had all the mastering, not it had all the recording information about what equipment was used in the recording and in the mixing and everything, which I thought was interesting. It's kind of nice. Seen better times, lots of empty storefronts. Yeah, yeah. Chad's business is doing a lot of good. It is. I mean, I walked through their mall, and it was 2/3, 3/4 empty. A lot of echo. Kind of sad. Kind of. kind of a telltale of those kind of things in America. Yeah, so he is looking to employ a third shift. Looking, I think, at acquiring more space. He wants to bring in as much control to his processes as he can. And other than sending out to get the jackets to get made, other than that, he does it all there. So he has his arms around about as much as you can. Okay. So future release you think will be Love Supreme 40. Okay, you've already heard those. Okay. It may be Pink Floyd. Yeah. Yeah. Won't be Beatles. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say that's all in play in the sense of possibilities. There's a lot of T's that need to get crossed and I's that need to get dotted for those kind of things to happen. But I can tell you without any doubt in my mind that Chad is pursuing any and all that he can, and he wants those things as much as you and I do. So if you couldn't have a better advocate, but these are not snap your finger kind of it's going to happen. There's a lot of cost involved, a lot of negotiation, a lot of trust that has to be built. Yeah, fingers crossed for Steely Dan because good knows, I mean, good gosh, nobody's putting anything out, with them, which is it's the used market's very high on their stuff. I mean, you can pay 60 to 80 bucks for Can't Buy a Thrill without much trouble these days if you want a really a decent one, even though they made quite a few of them. But yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying about Pink Floyd and the AP. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, we get that. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. But I think if he could have his finger in the pie, so to speak, I think he would be proud to do that as well. But there's all those kind of things, the labels and the band, and Pink Floyd has a huge, basically a legal entity of its own, more or less. So yeah, I think the thing that it always comes down to me is this: if QRP is going to press it, Chad is going to be the guy sampling those test pressings against the best pressings he can find, and that's where it ends, and that's where it's got to happen. So he'll go back and say, hey, we need a new lacquer. We can't squeeze something's not right or whatever. I mean, he'll whatever. So I mean, my point is, not gonna we're not if he's involved in it, then we know that the outcome and the product that comes out is definitely going to pass a certain level of muster to the magnitude that we have come to expect from the things that come out of there. Here's a guy, you think about it for just a minute, he could sell the 33s of kind of blue, and then rest on his laurels, but instead he ups it, makes a 45 and says, I'm going to beat it. Well, okay, that's some people are satisfied to leave well enough alone, but I think he's kind of like, nope, that's a new bar. I got a new bar got raised, and I want to go above that bar. So that's commendable in my mind. Yeah, I definitely would think so. But does anybody know those? Yeah, it's a really weird question. I feel embarrassed to say it even, but those someone I know bought Love Supreme, like I think they released them out of Walmart or something. Are those digital? I assume they're digital. I mean, I can't imagine those are getting through anything of any quality process whatsoever. Somebody I know bought one. They said didn't sound great to me, but I just those. I mean, it's a whole different level to get into the audiophile stuff, but there's so much of that stuff that's coming out just mass produced, and how much cheaper it is too, as well. Yeah, it was. John, it was exciting, and then the wind got knocked out of their sails right after that. It's kind of what I had heard is the plan had been, and they're going to announce the plant, and then they had the Germany show, Munich show, and then they were going to come out. And I think Fremer said they were going to come out with a video or something a few weeks after that, and that never happened, and that never happened. And a new pressing plant would be great, but I got to tell you, the the eyes of the world are, are staring at Mobile Fidelity right now, and I don't know. I just, it's it's hard for me, having been in business for 45 years and worked with. I mean, I've only worked for 4 or 5 companies and 34 years with the same one. Same, they were bought out by different people, but uh, and the thing about it is, it what happened and what really potentially went on says a lot about a company. And it really, this trust thing is a lot more than just a cheap shot, or a lot more than just a, oh yeah, we know. It's because if it happens in a big thing like that, or a big subject like that, what else is going on? I never, it's, you can't get comfortable when someone close to you lies. You start to, I don't know. Honestly, for me, it was, yeah. Chad was working with Doug Sass. Doug, yeah, long, yeah, yeah, and Chad's got all the Doug. He's got all Doug's stuff there, man. He's got it all. His console, his monitor speakers, his cutting lathe. Got it all sitting right there. Yeah. So, Vinyl Me Please. Yeah. See, Chad's guy, was it Chris? Went to Vinyl Me Please. They pulled him away. Um, and so that's in Denver, I think, if I remember right. And yeah, I'm planning to go up there in November, so I'm may try to sneak around there and see what, I don't know what stage of a build they're in at this point or not, um, but yeah, it is. Well, just labels having their own pressing plants, I think, is a good direction. Controlling your own destiny a bit. I think that's, um, it's it's had decades of not being fashionable, and it's been a big mistake. And it's made people who do accounting and make things look good in a spreadsheet lots of money. And it's made a lot of people who are purchasing folks who get cheaper products of lesser quality get their bonuses because they've reduced the purchase price variance. But it hasn't been good as a whole for the industry, in many industries, not just that one. And the thing is, that becomes obvious when you start having supply chain issues, because the less you have and the less you control, the more out of control you become. So, it's the domino effect. And it's, I if it's something that I would love to write a short book on, frankly, because I've seen so many examples of it. The old saying, I could write a book. I mean, I could write a book on all the examples I've seen. And it's kind of like, how this movie is going to end. And they still continue to sell the same snake oil, you know, and drink the same Kool-Aid. I mean, and it's like, hello, it's really a short-term thinking versus long-term thinking, right? Yeah. That's really what it boils down to. Yeah, Doug was. Yeah, no, yeah, Doug was. Yeah, he was. And yeah, Chad kind of lights up when he talks about Doug. Uh, and taking the care to get his equipment from California and handling it and being so, concerned about it getting to the right place and being maintained for its history, and yet still, usable. They still have a guy who uses a console, who can cut with it. So, it's great. Capacity is coming too late. Well, yeah, it's kind of like our highways, right? Oh shoot, 3 lanes isn't enough. Let's start a 10-year project. And then they build the next, they go, oh, 5 lanes isn't enough. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's one thing I can say. Houston, man, when they widened I-10, they went for the jugular, man. Like 10 lanes each way or whatever. And I mean, still probably gets backed up. But my point is, they didn't take some half-ass incremental approach. They kind of went for the gusto, and that's what you got to do. I mean, people, they kind of hedge their bets a bit, and then the problem is long projects like that. When you're wrong, it's over. You can't. It's too late. So it's hard. You can't make up that time. You know, Chad. He's seeing it in his own production. He can't get enough people to hire a third shift fully. I mean, that's his struggle. That's a lot of people's struggle, is getting quality people. So, that's it. So thanks, Novus Nick. These are hard. These are small font on my computer, unfortunately. Sorry if I butcher that, but I appreciate that. Yeah, it is different. The only good news is that there are rays of light, glimmers of light that are starting to shine. And I think that's really the important part, is that we're not just gonna continue to rest on our laurels and that. And it's the good news is the vinyl community has really brought that to bear, based on a lot of input from new generations that are a catalyst to this. Because let's face it, myself and some of the others, in 20 years, we'll probably, if we're still here, we won't have great hearing, maybe, but I don't know. So it's really important to pass that on. So I think that's important, and that was talked a lot about with Ludwig and Ryan K. Smith too, as well, about passing on that legacy, and that's important. So yeah, Doug, he mastered this Alan Parsons album. I'm sorry, Ambrosia. It's engineered by Alan Parsons, and it was cut by Doug, mastered by Doug. And man, I'll tell you, thing just flies out of the grooves. Just on. Is that a question to me? Isn't it ironic that Sony apparently has incredible presence in Japan? Yeah, there is an irony in that. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's they're a Japanese company, so I guess the standards of what is acceptable are different. That's all I can say. Will you keep this up, is Stereo's question. I'm not quite sure what that refers to. Do you mean alive, or do you mean doing videos, or do you mean being on the planet? What? You're next door in Louisiana. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, Ambrosia. Yeah, I'm going to do a video on Ambrosia, and because I've got a guy who worked for the guy who produced that album, and he's got a history to tell. So I've had this poor guy, Tony Shore. I've had a video in the can with him for 9 weeks, right, at least, and just because of all this other stuff that's come up, I haven't really been able to drip it out there. So, you know. Pink Floyd, The Wall, Gold. Oh, okay, show. Okay. You mean gold discs, I'm sure, the X File. It made me review that because of the word there. I'm sure you mean the gold discs. I guess the Mobile Fidelity ones, huh? Let's see. Sax Mastering Lab was truly great. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Right. What announcement have we latecomers miss? Yeah, the stream will stay up. I won't take it down. It'll still be up. The announcement for the subscribers was that I'm going to make a link available to you that will have my video from going into Chad's vinyl vault looking at some stuff he has in his vinyl vault that I will make available to you on the homepage of through the video that we have there for subscribers only. That it'll indicate where that is located, and you click on it, and you'll be able to go to that location and see it ahead of time. It'll be private for a few days. So. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate the comments very much. I'm just, I'm honored to have people, that want to hear things. My thing is I really like to pass on knowledge and information of things that I have experienced and things that I have an opinion on, but it's just an opinion. But at the same time, I've seen people get taken advantage of in a lot of different ways, whether it's being told to buy too high end of equipment, or records being purchased at a really rate that's crazy. There's a there's an auction that runs on Facebook several nights a week out of Mid America. I'm not going to name it, and the prices people pay for stuff. I just sit there and my jaw just drops to the ground, and they're happy to pay it. I mean, and I'm like, okay, okay, it is what it is. I mean, I can't, if the guy can get the money for it, I can't, it's not like, yeah, like I say, it's America. He's an entrepreneur, but I think of those people and I think, my gosh, I mean, maybe they have excess money and they just figure, hey, I go one stop shop. This is the place. I know what I'm getting. Fine. Okay. That's fine. You know, oh, thanks. Yeah. Hit that like button. Yeah. Yeah, the dislike button, is that a middle finger? No, no, it's a different. Uh, Run across the soundtrack for Close Encounters. It was mastered by Doug. Okay, I'm making a note of that one because I've seen it. I don't know the name. And it's cute, so it's in quad. Okay. Unfortunately, the worst quad matrix that there is, US is better, and TD4 is even better for discrete, but it takes a lot more setup than that. But stereo liked. Thank you. So the X File, you said Pink Floyd gold disc. So you're talking about the Mobile Fidelity ones, or which release? TMM. Okay. Yep. Thanks. Yep. I've seen plenty of those in my day. Definitely. The Mastering Lab. MF Dix. Okay. That really sounds bad. X File. Those MF discs. Yeah, those gold ones were pretty good. Those go for a little bit of money now. Still, I mean, those still have some decent value to them. I don't personally. I think I've got a couple, but I don't have Pink Floyd's. Unfortunately, I don't. I've got I got a UK OG of Wish You Were Here, and I've got a quad of Wish You Were Here. I got a quad of Dark Side of the Moon, uh, which are nice. Oh, fun banter between you and the wax today. Yeah, I was waxing poetic, wasn't I? Well, I've been there, Novus Nick. I've been there, so I don't necessarily see all the comments or read them, especially when I'm in the middle of a flaming fireworks with the wax. Um, I think I'm going to come on tomorrow with the catcher's mask, just to protect myself or something. I think it's only appropriate. But oh yeah, well, I it's just I knew eventually something would triple wire, because some of those guys are, they're wire trippers. I think. uh, Yeah. I got to find that mask, see if I got it in the garage. I mean, I'll have something, you know, definitely going to have something. But it, it certainly changed the tenor of the, the stream for about 15 minutes. I'll say that. It definitely, I actually saw Wax searching for words at 2 points. And I thought, now this is the definition of success. When, when that happened, I said, okay, you know, Hokey Masdale Stars fan. Oh yeah, yeah. Came out of nowhere. Really, that's the funny part. It just really kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, he's a smart guy, and he doesn't strike me as a guy who gets challenged very much, at least on that show. So maybe he was overdue. I don't know. Roger Waters is not a. He condemns predatory capitalism. Yeah, he condemns a lot of things. Yeah, he does. So he's on a tour of basically he has a message. So uh, you either want to see him or you don't want to see him. I guess. Yeah, he's a flipper himself. Who's a flipper? Wax or Roger Waters? Whoa, Dono. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, man. Look at that. Had two donos tonight, and I haven't asked for them. I haven't. I'm probably the world's worst salesman. I just, I just don't. I'm not that way. I mean, if I love genuine, a genuine thing when people do it. So yeah, it's great. I had to bring a donut to Rachel's thing tomorrow, and every time she says dono, take a bite out of it. I think that might be. You guys are giving me some great ideas here. I'm loving the mental stimulation. Usually at this hour, I need some kind of stimulation. So since my wife's out of town, I think this would be perfectly fine. So, honey, I got some mental stimulation while you were gone. Oh gosh, better bring a dozen donuts. You better believe that, buddy. But yeah, it's the thing is, it's just it's fun. It's I've had so many people who I've dealt with through that other group I mentioned, Second Chance Records, who are newbies, to vinyl, and they just sop up the information, and they've things that they maybe would not have decided or decided differently because they didn't know better. And to me, it was what was she fired up about the other night? I missed that. I missed what she was fired up. Rachel, you've heard it from Rachel. Dono. Oh, donos when people give a donation. I guess this is like these stickers and things you can donate now. It's a thing in YouTube you turn on, and it came to me in an email and said, "Hey, you can turn this on. You haven't." I'm like, "Okay, turn it on." What I it seemed to have a few too many. Oh, one of those. Okay, I get it. Yeah, Roger's good at flipping predatory capitalists, flipping off. Yeah, that's yeah, he'll do that. The other day I saw him on an interview with RT, which I think is like Russian television or something, an interview guy, and the guy he said, I couldn't believe it. I did like 18 minutes of interview with Ron with the guy at CNN, and they only had 9 of it, and they cut shit out, and they didn't even tell me what they were going to do. I couldn't believe it, and nothing ever was in context. And I'm like, yeah, what'd you think was going to happen? How long you been in this? Come on. I mean, yeah, please. It's not if you want a forum, go talk to it. Go to the university, give a talk. You get all the airtime you want. And you can, and then you get it off with your chest or whatever. But they're not, the media is always going to have its way, whatever, whatever side, whatever they're going to, whatever, however many commercials they want to run. You're going to, what you want out of it is the least of their concerns. So come on, grow up, put on your big boy pants. You can do that. But yeah, why Roger Waters don't go to Russia to pay less taxes? Yeah, okay, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's a lot of times the sum of the parts, like a Pink Floyd, right? The sum of the parts versus the individuals. You see that, you really see that so often. Certain groups, Moody Blues, going off on their own. I mean, just they just really, as a group or as that really works and it gels. But when you start, spreading out, it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's fragmented. It doesn't quite have the synergy of it, and it always feels a little, not quite what it should be. Is what it seems like to me. Second 2ND, Second Chance Records, 2ND. Second Chance is what it is. It's a group on Facebook. And yeah, I mean, these guys, they do make a lot of money and all, and I don't begrudge them any of that. I just always there's it's like the thing where these guys are big on climate change, and then they're flying private jets here, there, and everywhere, and it's like, just a little bit of context and humility or something. I'm sorry. It's like they want the average person to, give it up and everything, and then they can just do what they want to do. I just that bothers me a little bit. I don't begrudge any of the success they've had and anything like that, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, well, he is a keen observer of things. There's no doubt. I mean, yeah, he does study. I mean, he's not just talking off the cuff. That's for sure. Okay, Small X, thank you. Always take the high road. I like to remember the old saying about wrestling pigs. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it gets a little messy. Thank you for spending time here. So, gang, if there's nothing else burning, I'm going to start to shut her down a bit. I could stay here all night just because I like talking to myself, I guess. But I really do appreciate you guys subscribing. It's for me, it's just, it keeps me motivated, and that's really what the important thing is. Kicking a fresh curd out of the cover day. That's a great visual at the end of the day. I really appreciate that one. That's but it does keep, it's numbers are numbers, but it does, as in YouTube, there are certain numbers you hit to be able to get certain things going and whatever. And I'm here to help you guys and to get to know you guys. And so if you need anything, again, it's sound@safeandsoundtexas, fully spelled out.com. Drop me a note, and I'll get back to you. And if you have anything you're looking for, like I said, let me know. I'll be at a record show Saturday in San Antonio. And I'll also be in Europe probably in October. And so, opportunities are there. I may have something in mind, collection as well. So, John, thank you, sir. And if there's nothing else, I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me. This is always really a lot of fun, and I appreciate all of you. And you all be safe. Take care of yourself, your families. Kiss your kids goodnight, and have a good evening. Take care, everybody. See ya.